Hey YouTube, this is Nashtaters. Welcome back to another episode of Friday Free Thinking. Now today, the topic of conversation is going to be about who is going to be the queen of farming when Irdilla comes in. Let's dive in. Irdilla has been recently pushed back on the global server. She was really supposed to be released pretty much alongside with Final Fantasy Tactics banner, but I think the developers for global felt like it would have been too much for us players, and I don't disagree. I think she's going to be a great unit, however, being released around the same time as all these other units that many people have strong attachments to could be a little bit overbearing and perhaps people will ignore her. So I think it was a great move that they pushed her back. But she will be coming, and I think it's important to talk about her. Now, this game pretty much, by many people's standards, is considered a farming simulator because farming is very important. And Irdilla is perhaps considered the queen of farming currently on Japan. So right now we have Mediena as our main AoE farmer, but let's go ahead and compare the two. First and foremost, this game has many aspects of farming. There's PvE farming, then perhaps there's even PvP farming. But for the most part, I'm going to be briefly touching on PvP and mostly discussing the topic of PvE farming. For me, I personally like to trigger Whimsy Shop using Chapter 4 Scene 2 Good Idea map because it's very easy to kill and very fast. Let's go and take a quick look using my Mediena. So for my farming routine, I have, generally speaking, Mediena sit right there and boom, she goes and kills. Very easy, very fast. Should be able to trigger Whimsy Shop as fast as using skip tickets. Well, not necessarily. Skip tickets pretty instant, but this is still nonetheless very fast. Another aspect of farming this game is going to be books. Now this is me showing off my team engaging one of the maps. Now basically the book maps are all going to be the same. You have a group here, an individual here, and then a group here. Generally speaking, when you farm different books, they're going to have the named unit going to be a little bit different. But all in all, the unnamed units are all going to be the same. The Irdilla character has lack of animation of many of her skills. Therefore, she can save you a lot of time in that aspect. But when you're farming on your own, you can turn off animations, as I showed you on that one map, where Mediena went in there, killed everything in literally a few seconds. But when you're doing multi, I think that's where Irdilla will shine the most. In addition, Irdilla has a very long range on most of her attacks, and they're all AoE effects. So, for example, if you have 4 Irdillas, one being here, she can simply move up to this bridge, boom, kill all 3 there, the other one, boom, kill those 3 there, and boom, the other one kills those 3 there. It can take you only a few seconds to clear multiplayer, and therefore, she can be definitely dubbed as Queen of Farming in terms of multiplayer. But again, the lack of animation on your normal personal farming really perhaps won't make that much of a difference, other than the fact that Irdilla has a much longer range. Now we all know in multiplayer there are other aspects included, and of course the EX quests and of course challenges. In EX quests, many of them are built very similar to the books in terms of format. Enemies are most likely to be classified under the quadrant system, in which case they're bundled up in different corners of the map. So using Irdilla or perhaps Mediena won't make too much of a difference because of the fact that they're all very close to your starting units. However, once we're able to get the quality of life change in which we can turn off animation, I think Mediena can stand a chance in terms of farming an EX. In EX quests where the enemies are not bundled up, I think it goes without saying that both units are perhaps not going to make humongous impacts in terms of making it faster. Again, the only difference is Irdilla does have a longer range. Perhaps that can come into play. Right now, I don't know if there's going to be enough testing done given the fact on global we don't have the ability to turn off animation on multiplayer. In terms of brutal challenge multiplayer, I think both of them are not going to be that great because they're both glass cannons. Therefore, the chance of them dying is pretty high. Although it doesn't affect anything in terms of them dying, in terms of as long as you finish, perhaps using other units such as Orlando or tankier / bruiser units with AoE effects could be a better option. I do want to briefly touch up on PvP farming, because that's still considered farming. We're still farming metals, and we most likely have to do these every single day. In terms of arena, I'm slowly walking away from Mediena in her usage, because of her glass cannon. Yes, she can kill units, but on a counterattack, she usually dies one shot. In match battle, or better known as PvP, is a little bit different. I think the meta definitely leans towards units that can use Steel Heart, because Steel Heart is very powerful. On top of it, you have absolute total control of your units. Therefore, you dictate what skills to use and when to use them. So I feel like that's a different animal in its own. And I think glass cannons, generally speaking, have no place in PvP. In terms of guild battle, however, I think it's the same thing as arena. Since we have no control, perhaps walking away from glass cannons is considered a good idea, unless you're going with 3 glass cannon units and your whole goal is to wipe out enemy units as much as possible. One of the great things about War of Divisions is the strong presence of the community. I think as an individual player in this game, it's important to understand our responsibility. And being part of the community is important to help each other out. Personally, I never had experience where I removed another player in multiplayer simply because they weren't going to speed up the process of farming. However, I always recommend, especially the fact that I made that etiquette video for multiplayer, don't bring tanks or low-level units because you are going to hinder the idea of people wanting to farm a little bit faster. I think with the release of Irdilla, that perhaps can have a potential toxic effect on the community, because of the fact that many people perhaps only want people to bring Irdilla, or maybe other AoEers. In that case, we are dealing with the fact that many people bring Mediena to farming. I think once we get the ability to turn off animations, none of these things perhaps will ever happen. However, I really hope the community takes the idea that we shouldn't be kind to each other rather than being toxic to each other. Another key thing to remember is that not everybody has equal number of time allocated to this game. I have a lot of time to play this game because currently pandemic and working not as much as before is giving me the opportunity to farm a lot more than others. But I understand there are many players out there who don't have a lot of time to play. Perhaps you can only play maybe an hour, a few hours, and I think they perhaps won't necessarily see the benefit of having a farmer that can farm a little bit faster. The reason being is they don't see quote-unquote the immediate effect. Gaining a few extra items per session isn't really a huge impact. But for other players where they're playing perhaps 8 to 16 hours a day, if you're doing it, try to tone down a little bit, to be honest, because for your health benefit, of course. They will see definitely immediate impact. Because of 2x speed perhaps, they're going to be gaining a lot more materials. But one thing people need to understand is there's still going to be other factors involved. Perhaps people AFKing, perhaps people doing auto clicking and whatever. It's still going to eat into the time of your actual farming time. And again, emphasizing the fact that we have the ability to turn off animation effects in multi, perhaps at that point I can perhaps make a video with Irdilla and Mediena side-to-side comparison to see exactly how much time we're actually saving. Alright, now for my final thoughts. I think the key thing about Irdilla is going to be the timing when she's released. If she's released in the next couple of weeks, most people are most likely going to have a hard time trying to get her. Because of the fact that Final Fantasy Tactics really ate into our resources, many people are not going to have enough resources perhaps to build her right away. And the fact that perhaps we're going to need to spend a lot of gems to try to get her in the first place might hinder people from getting her. Now, spenders are going to spend regardless when the unit is released. The question remains, is she going to be a game changer? I think she will be, because of the fact that she will greatly increase your farming time in specific aspect of the game. Generally speaking, as a content creator, I don't like to use words like you should, or I recommend, or you must do quite a bit, because I like to give people options as my main focus. As shown in the normal summon video that I created in which you can get vision card shards, my goal was really to show people that you have these options to try to get those shards. I didn't really want to give people the impression that I wanted people to go and farm gold and then subsequently summon. It's not my intention. And just as here, it's not really my intention or my job really to tell you what to do. I think everyone is entitled to play the game they want to play. and still, at the end of the day, it's just a game. I think it's important to give people options though. In this case, we recently just received Mediena for free, and everyone has this character. And most likely, a lot of people since the global release have already built Mediena to level 99 as their primary AoE PvE farmer. So at this point in time, is it really worth it? Given it's only been 5 months to quickly replace our main AoE farmer, spending perhaps another 30 to 40,000 gems to build Irdilla to get to the point where she can become impactful for your account? I don't know. I think as an individual, you have to make that decision. But I feel like in this video, I presented enough information perhaps to give you to weigh yourself the pros and cons of what you should be doing. But I feel like no matter what decision you end up making, it's always going to be good. Having 2 farmers isn't necessarily bad either, especially if you're farming on your own. But for multiplayer, maybe, and just maybe Ardilla will become the queen of farming, but only time will tell. And to end this video, let's do the summon sessions. Unfortunately, the first time I recorded this video, it was corrupt. But good news is I didn't get anything special, so it's not really worthy of doing. Hopefully in the future, I can simply record the recording of the summons and then just go ahead and edit it into whatever video I'm doing. So that's all the time I have for this video. I want to thank you for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed this content because I feel like it's important to make comparisons with units, especially for people who are not spenders, because they need to have that option to figure out if they should be summoning or not. Remember, time is your most valuable resource, so use it wisely and cherish it. As always, take care of yourself and all your loved ones. Nashtaters and his family out. Peace.